Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gay Let's Play
The boys
Dragon
and I
Age
are going
2.
for drinks later if you'd like to join us.
Don't mind if I do. See you there.
Mark Meer, could you please not interrupt me again? Oh, Mark Meer, what am I gonna do with you? In our last episode, we ended up taking care of that quest for Flemeth over at Sundermount, where we met the Dalish elves, and recruited a new member of our party, Meryl, who apparently, despite her very naive and innocent, her innocent
Good to see you
disposition,
again, my dear.
The priest was asking after you again last week.
Mark Meer.
I've brought my family there
Seriously.
twice this year. What more does she want from us?
Mark Meer, what am I gonna do with you? You know what? Why don't I just go in here into Meryl's house, her home. Yeah, but basically, Meryl's also a blood mage, which doesn't really fit. I mean, her personality doesn't fit what you would stereotypically think of as a blood mage, which actually intrigues Clive quite a bit, because him also, I think what I'm going to be, how I'm going to roleplay this is that he probably first becomes interested in blood magic because of Meryl. Like, he's heard of blood magic before, and I guess he didn't really know that much about it. But after meeting Meryl, I think he's intrigued. So, story-wise, I think that meeting Meryl marks the beginning of his dabbling of blood magic, because it makes sense, because Clive hasn't quite, if you look at his abilities, he hasn't quite taken blood mage yet. So now that he's, starting to get to know Meryl, he's probably gonna, off camera, I'm thinking off camera, he's gonna start asking her questions about blood magic and learning more about it, and that's when he's finally gonna start dabbling in it. Which makes a lot of sense. So why don't we go chat with Meryl? Because we promised her...
I didn't think you'd come.
Yeah, we promised her.
I'll find something relatively clean for you to sit on.
Relatively clean. We promised her we'd visit her.
Can I get you something to eat or drink? I have water.
Ah, well, how kind of you.
It's cozy, and your furry friends are charming.
Oh, are the rats back? I thought I'd found all their holes.
It's quite alright.
I wanted to thank you for bringing me here, but I'm making a mess of it.
No, as sweet as Meryl is, unfortunately, she's not quite Hawke's type. And I'm not saying that because she's an elf. You know the reason why she's not really Hawke's type.
If this is what you wanted, then I'm glad I could be of service.
I can't say that I like Kirkwall, but I'm glad to be here. I haven't exactly had many friends.
Oh.
Not even among my own clan. This is... tricky.
I think, Clive he's very sympathetic to Meryl. And he sees her, as being... She's so naive, and he knows that she's so naive. And I guess he's starting to see Meryl as a younger sibling. And because of that, I think Clive is probably going to end up being very overprotective of Meryl and constantly looking out for her safety. And this actually might be a little bit awkward for him at first, because he himself had just lost his own biological younger sister, Bethany. And, throughout the course of the relationship, even though Bethany was a great loss to Clive, he doesn't want Meryl to be the replacement. He doesn't want Meryl to become a Bethany 2.0. But I think by sort of taking Meryl under his wing, that Clive will be able to heal. I think by looking out and taking care of Meryl, I guess Clive is sort of it'll help him, I guess, to get forgiveness, if that makes sense. Get forgiveness from Bethany for not having protected her, if that makes sense. And I think the dynamic between the two of them is going to be really interesting, because while Clive is looking out and watching out for Meryl as an older brother figure, at the same time Meryl's also going to be teaching Clive blood magic. So there's like it goes both ways. You know, there's mentorship in two different mediums, two different ways between the two of them, which I think that's gonna be a really interesting role playing aspects with these two characters. So tell me, Meryl, why didn't you have any friends?
What made you unpopular with the Dalish?
Being first to the Keeper, I was always a bit secluded. I studied magic and history while the others were learning the Via Tanadal. It's good that I left. I'd have made a terrible keeper. I was never that good with people.
It won't take long before you're the most popular girl in the alienage.
Mythol, I hope not. I'd managed to say something stupid in front of everyone and embarrass myself. Thank you for coming to visit me, Hawke. It means a lot to me.
Okay. Meryl friendship +5. Not bad, not bad. We can work on that a little bit. What do you think, Izzy?
I found this amazing hat shop in Lowtown.
Really, girl? Oh, you're gonna have to show me. Girl, we're gonna have to go shopping. Yes, absolutely.
We should move on.
By the dread wolf! Why is my house always such a mess when people are here? It's clean sometimes, I swear.
Yeah. Alright, Mon and the use of magic. Alright, I think I know about Mon and the use of magic and the Maker's first children. Actually, the Maker's first children? Let's take a look at this one. The Maker's first creations were the spirits, glorious beings that populated the many spires of the Golden City, and the Chant of Light says that they revered the Maker with unquestioning devotion. The Maker, however, was dissatisfied. Although the spirits were like him, in that they could manipulate the ether and create from it, they did not do so. They had no urge to create, and even when instructed to do so, possessed no imagination to give their creation ingenuity or life. The Maker realized his own folly. He had created the spirits to resemble him in all but the one and most important way. They did not have a spark of the divine within them. He expelled all the spirits out of the Golden City and into the Fade, and proceeded to his next creation, life. Really now? So hold on. Are you saying that the spirits were his rejected creation? That kind of puts... That's really interesting. I never realized that he just kicked out... He just kicked them all out of his Golden City paradise, and we're like, alright, let's try again. Which makes you wonder if the Maker in this universe... You know, I think Morrigan mentioned something about the Maker, if he does exist, possibly had abandoned this creation as a failure and moved on, you know, to a new creation. I think that was Morrigan's explanation as to why the Maker seemed so absent and silent, is because he just moved on to something. He tried, you know what, this is my second creation step. It wasn't all that great. I think I'm gonna, you know, work on something else completely different, and that's really interesting. Anyway, the Maker created the world and the living beings upon it, separated from the Fade by the veil. His new children would be unable to shape the world around them, and thus would need to struggle to survive. In return for their struggle, the Maker gave them the spark of the divine, a soul, and he watched with pleasure as his creations flourished and showed all the ingenuity that he had hoped for. The spirits grew jealous of the living and coaxed them into the Fade when they slept. The spirits wished to know more of life, hoping to find a way to regain the Maker's favor. Through the eyes of the living, they experienced new concepts: love, fear, pain, and hope. The spirits reshaped the Fade to resemble the lives and concepts that they saw, each spirit desperately trying to bring the most dreamers to their own realm so they could vicariously possess a spark of the divine through them. So the spirits are essentially trying to live vicariously through the mortals. As the spirits grew in power, however, some of them became contemptuous of the living. These were the spirits that saw the darkest parts of the dreamers. Their lands were places of torment and horror, and they knew that the living were strongly drawn to places that mirrored those dark parts of themselves. These spirits questioned the Maker's wisdom and proclaimed the living inferior. They learned from the darkness they saw and became the first demons: rage, hunger, sloth, desire, pride. These are the dark parts of the soul that give demons their power, the hooks they use to claw their way into the world of the living. It was demons that whispered into the minds of men, convincing them to turn from the Maker and worship false gods. They seek to possess all life as their due, forging kingdoms of nightmares in the Fade in the hopes of one day storming the walls of heaven itself. So the spirits are demons are the fallen, basically fallen spirits, which makes a lot of sense. And the Maker despaired once again, for he had given the power of creation to his new children, and in return, they had created sin. Interesting. Okay. Alright. Arlathan, or Arlathan. Alright, we're gonna change up our party. Let's pull out... Oh, I don't know. Let's pull out... We haven't seen Aveline in quite some time, so let's put her in. Those of you who have not watched some of my other BioWare game LPs, I really like to rotate my party. Because I know a lot of people, and this makes perfect sense, stick with one specific party, like specific characters in their party, because, you know, it works really well. The combination might work really well, and they might like certain characters and all that good stuff. And they might switch out some party people just, you know, for story purposes. But I try to make it a point to try to give every single character as much screen time as the next, because I don't like to play favorites. I think that viewers have their own favorites, and there's also some characters that they might not particularly care for. So by rotating characters as equally as possible, you know, it's an even playing field. Everybody gets a little of, you know, who they want to see in action. So that's what I'm doing. And it's a good thing we're bringing Aveline over, because she needs to get leveled. That's a sign of us not using her recently. Let's give her Safeguard. While a shield is equipped, the warrior shrugs off the extra damage from critical hits. And she needs... Aveline could use some more stamina. There we go. Speaking of... So, like I said, now that Clive is starting to dabble in blood magic, starting to learn from Meryl, we're going to officially signify that by taking the Blood Mage specialization. We don't have any of Blood Mage abilities yet, but at least this is showing that Clive has officially started his journey of becoming a Blood Mage. That's exciting. Alright. I still want to go to Lowtown, because we've got other people we need to talk to here. Like...
Please, Sir Thrask. He won't go to the Circle willingly, but it's the only place.
Madam, we'll do our best to find your son, but I cannot guarantee his safety if he continues to resist Templar jurisdiction.
He's just a boy.
He's an apostate.
Yeah, well...
I am sorry for your loss, mistress, but I can offer your son mercy only if he turns himself in.
I'm trying to find him, but
The Templars cannot tolerate apostates.
Okay, so I think Clive is really sympathetic towards this woman's situation and her apostate son. So he's not going to joke around about it. He's going to be sincere.
It sounds like your son is in trouble. Is there anything I can do?
You heard all of that and still you would help? An apostate? Oh, thank you.
Of course.
I am Ariane. My boy, Feynriel. He's all I have. All my family. When I learned he had magic, I could not bear to send him to the Circle. But his connection to the Fade, it gives him nightmares. Dreams of demons speaking in his mind. I would rather lose him to the Circle than to himself.
What kind of dreams is he having?
He dreams of demons, calling to him, pulling him into their world. Every day, it grows harder to wake him. That is why I turn to the Circle. They are the only ones that can protect a mage from his own powers.
Didn't we just read something like a codex from Merrill's house that talked about spirits and, you know, pulling mortals while they're sleeping in their dreams, like pulling them into their, do you know something that we don't, Meryl? I mean, seriously.
Tell me the whole story.
I learned years ago that my son likely had magical talent, but we could not bear the thought of him locked in the Gallows.
Yeah.
So we hid. When the nightmares began, Feynriel still refused to contact the Circle. But I truly think they are the only people who might save his life.
Yeah. One thing that you guys are going to discover, guys, is that Clive's opinion of the Circle is pretty complex. Like, he doesn't outright hate the Circle. In fact, he thinks that the Circle is... He thinks that certain mages... Every mage is different. Every mage is different. And some mages have more difficulty controlling themselves than others. So, for some people, I think Clive believes probably is a good idea. It is a good idea to have them in the Circle. Now, the question then becomes who dictates who should and should not be in the Circle. I mean, that's the big question. But I think it's a lot more interesting for Clive, even as a mage, to not be completely black and white about the Circle. You know, I think he sees that it's there for a reason. It might not be a perfect answer to what they're trying to solve, but he doesn't outright think it's a bad thing. Of course, it's easy for him to say since he's never actually been in the Circle before.
Those look like Dalish tattoos. Why do you live in the city?
I was born to the Dalish, but came to Kirkwall for a time and dallied with a human merchant, Vincento. When I found I was with child, neither Vincento nor my tribe wished the burden of an elf-blooded human infant. I raised Feynriel myself, here in the Alienage.
Did your son run away?
He learned I had contacted Sir Thrask. He felt I betrayed his trust. He thinks he can live free of the Circle, but I am afraid without proper training, he'll kill himself.
Yeah, see, as much as, again, like, yeah, people can bash the Circle, but I think Clive is thinking that if Feynriel's life really is in danger, if he really is in danger, as much as his mother thinks he's in, to the point where he's not able to protect himself from himself, then, I mean, maybe he should consider going to the Circle.
What exactly do you need me to do?
Just find him, please. Bring him somewhere safe. I don't know where Feynriel is gone, But there are 2 places you might start your search. Sir Thrask has been looking for him. If you speak to him in the Gallows, he'll be able to tell you what ground he's already covered. And Feynriel's father, Vincento, recently returned from Antiva. He's a merchant in the Lowtown Bazaar. Feynriel might have sought him out.
So, Thrask is that Templar guy you were talking to, right?
Tell me about this Templar.
I believe he's a good man. He doesn't hate mages, but sees what it took me too long to realize. Even the best-intentioned mages are at the mercy of their sleeping minds. There are other Templars who are much less sympathetic.
Well, it's good to know that there's Templars out there who are, you know, reasonable. He sounds reasonable.
You and Feynriel's father are not married?
Vincento had no desire for a wife or an elf-blooded child. I haven't seen him since the day I told him.
Oh.
I have written, though, to keep him informed about his child. Feynriel wanted to meet him.
What a scumbag. Like, this is your son, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with him? I mean, it's not his fault that he was born. Sheesh. Clive's a little bit irritated at that.
I will not leave you fearful for a moment longer than necessary.
He ought to have his own life. Out from the shackles of the Circle. Everyone should.
My husband Wesley was a Templar. They're not all fanatics to be feared.
That's right.
Thank you. It has been a lonely time hiding. It's almost a relief to finally confront this openly.
Alright. Let's
I
continue.
understand you're named after a famous knight.
Everyone always brings up the name.
I've not heard of Sir Aveline. Is she very famous?
Really? They don't tell of her glorious downfall into Winter?
Not to slaves.
Pardon me for saying so, but thank the Maker for that.
Alright, let's keep going, shall we? I think we've pretty much spoken to everyone that we can speak to here in Lowtown, so let's just head over to Vincento. It's right over here.
Greetings, Sarah. You look like a man who'd be interested in the finest Antivan steel to grace his hand. I bring only the best northern merchandise to the Freemarches.
Yeah, we're just gonna cut to the chase here.
Actually, I'm more interested in your son.
Son? I have never had that privilege, Sarah. My poor wife, she's back in Antiva and cannot see me often with my travels.
That's the best you can do with a guard staring you in the face.
Let us not ruin the day with such weighty thoughts. Perhaps I could show you my silks.
We're not Templars, Sarah. Feynriel has nothing to fear from us.
Show off.
Maldición, you are a mage. I suppose you'd be kind then to a boy who resists being taken in by Templars?
Yeah.
To an elf-blooded child abandoned by his human father? Of course we would.
Yes, evidently so.
Fen.
The boy's in over his head. So I sent him to the only man I know who doesn't despise mages. A former Templar named Samson.
Wait, you sent him to a Templar?
Why would a Templar help him?
His conscience plagues him, having served the Templars too long. He now helps mages on the run. He stays out of sight during the day. At night, he stays near Darktown. That's the best place to find him.
Alright, so we've got some leads, some Samson guy who is a Templar or a former Templar who helps mages. I kinda wanna meet him. Let's also talk to Thrask. Like, we don't have to. You can talk to Vincento or Thrask, but you can talk to both. And I think Clive wants to collect all the information he can get in order to find Feynriel. So we're going to the Gallows, talking to this Sir Thrask guy.
I've heard about the Circle of Magi outside of the Imperium, but I've never been in one. Are you certain it's wise for you to be here?
Aww, I think Clive's a little He's gonna give Fenris credit where credit is due. I think Clive's a little touched that Fenris seems concerned about him, you know, walking around as a mage, you know, by all these Templars.
Oh, I'm sure nobody will notice little old me. Don't you worry.
Yeah, with a...
Very reassuring. This seems more like a prison. I wonder if it's more effective than the circle I know.
I love how Clive is like, I'll blend in. They're not gonna notice me, with that big, giant mage staff behind his back. It amazes me. One of the things that amazes me in this game is that Hawke can just freely wander around the streets of Kirkwall in broad daylight. He clearly looks like a mage. And at night, I mean, he's actually casting spells, you know, when he's attacking all the riffraff at night, and there are guards around. Well, I guess there aren't very many Templars around, but still, like, someone, I'm sure, after, what, a year? Someone, I'm sure, should have come up to him by now. I don't know. Clive must have some bizarre, like, Jedi mind trick powers, like, this is not the mage you were looking for.
How is the Imperial Circle of Magi different?
Once upon a time, it was as it is here. The Chantry watched the Magisters closely for any signs of corruption or weakness. Then it changed. The Magisters were permitted to watch over their own, and Templars kept only to enforce the law. What happened next was inevitable. The Magisters rule again, as powerful as they ever were.
You're saying the same thing could happen here?
If the mages were permitted to be their own watchers, of course. It is too easy for a mage to resort to blood magic if they feel the need is great enough. A mage can desire power, justice, revenge, protection. Any cause will do, and then they are lost.
Okay, Fenris, that's not fair. I mean, okay, I guess Clive can understand why he's so against blood magic. I mean, Clive doesn't think blood magic automatically makes you evil. He'd like to believe so. And two, what really aggravates Clive, what grinds his gears so much with Fenris, is that he's so black and white. Like, he understands why Fenris doesn't like mages because of, given his history. But he generalizes so much, and that drives Clive crazy, because Clive is not a kind of person who generalizes. He's very gray-minded. He sees the gray in things. Things are not all black and white. And I think he's trying really hard to try to get Fenris to understand that, yeah, all mages are different, and you can't just put them all in one box and just, you know, see them all a certain way. Like, it doesn't work like that.